All right, so uh, we have here the wiring harness for the 2015 Ford Fusion. And this, if you've watched any of the videos prior to this, the P0128 code video, and I did an update for that. This is the wire harness connector for that temperature sensor position, that temperature position sensor connection point. This is a connector for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this and splice it to the 2.3 because I want to run the new temperature position sensor on the 2.5 build using the 2.3 harness. Both of the plugs or connectors or if you will, pigtails are different. So, I mean, go ahead and try it. I mean, I'm saving you some time. They're very different. Well, they're not very different, but their orientation's a little different. But I'll show you what the 2.3 looks like. So what I'm going to do here is cut back a little bit so I can get some extra wire and snip it and do the same thing over on the 2.3 side and splice it back together. So let's get started.
Bye.
All right, so that should be more than enough wire. I'm going to give myself some lead room here. All right, take it, cut it here. Now I got my joint. So if you look at the 2.3, this is the 2.3 pigtail versus the 2.5 pigtail. You can see, let me get this one turned. You can see how they're different. See the orientation? The 2.3 is 2 left, 1 right. The 2.5 is 1 left, 2 right. So that's why if you try to just plug it in, it won't fit. You'll have to splice in the 2.5 pigtail to the 2.3 harness if you want to run the new temperature position sensor. So let's get this 2.3 one off and slice back. It looks like the 2.3 is using a different color, but the same kind of color scheme. Here, if you look close here, you'll see what looks like a pinkish, beigeish wire with a pinkish wire with a red stripe. The 2.5 uses the green wire with the uses the green wire solid with, or it could be like a, this thing just has some kind of color differentiation from the heat, it looks like. But this is the solid wire here, and this is the wire we're going to splice to the colored wire on the 2.3. And we got to do some fixing here to make sure there's no cuts. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. Let me get it all ready and get this cut back, and we'll start with the splicing part. Stay tuned. So I like to go ahead and install my sealant here. I forget what they call this. Heat shrink, there we go. I like to go ahead and install my heat shrink before I do any of my wire stripping with the wire stripping tool. Just so I already have it in place. And I just put my wire in here. And actually I'm going to take it off. I cut too much. So forget what I just said. Just terrible. To get some room to cut. There we go. All right, so we got our 2 wires that we are going to splice. So we'll put this together like so, and then throw this on over the top. Get it down over the top, just like so. I want to get it down a little further because it'll shrink with the heat coming off of the solder gun. Then we'll take the blue one, put it on the multicolored wire. That would be that. And then we will strip these back. Make sure that we have the right one, because this isn't. Let's refix that. Let's move this slightly out of the way. Okay, so now that we have our wire for the 2.5, we're just going to take the ends for each of them. Let's put it in your automatic stripper. Put it in your automatic stripper. And remove it. And here I took a lot. Don't need that much, so I need to kind of cut it down. So I'm going to spin it here. And I'm going to cut this down away from the engine. Just like that. All right, for the second one, stick it in there. Take it back just a little bit. That much is perfect. And go ahead and just peel that off. That's a little bit too much too, so I'm going to cut it down just a little bit to make everything flow a little better. All right, so there are our 2 wires. So what we're going to do now is line everything up. And you really want to make sure you line it up. We know, first and foremost, I have a joint cut here that I need to fix. So I'm going to go and fix this little cut here with some electrical tape, and I'll be right back. So you want to make sure you put your rubber boot back on before you do any splicing. Just as a word of advice, because you're going to need to, you know, be able to put that back on, and you can't do that if you splice it first. And I taped it, and I got this rubber shrink, or this heat shrink, that I'm going to heat it up once I get everything all tightened and whatnot. So it's up here, but I'm going to move it down to that once it's ready, right, to cover that. Okay, so now we got the solid. We got solid that needs to go with solid. So I know here my black is the one with the stripe. And just for reference, we're going to double check. That is not true. My blue is the one with the stripe, and that's why you always double check. Get that out of there. So what I'm going to do is try to open these up a little bit so it's easy to kind of tie them together. I'm going to get a little more from this one. So here's our white stripe and green. We're going to take that with our purple and stripe. We're just going to blend these two together. Let me get this out of the way. All right. Push this down in here, get it out of the way. I'll try to push these in and twist them so that they all interconnect. That is not working like I wanted to. Push that one out of the way. All right, and now for number 2. I'm gonna need a little bit more from this one. That just gave me a whole bunch of trouble. All right, so now with the wires lengthened a little bit, we'll kind of twist them, I guess. Not how I usually do it, but we'll just go with this one. And you want to get these wires on a good connection here. All nice and everything's touching. 2. Then we gotta back it off because we don't have our, what's the name on? Heat shrink on. Your heat shrink needs to be able to cover it, so we're gonna need to get some larger ones. Just going with larger heat shrinks because it makes it easier to get them on afterwards. All right, so I cut all my heat shrinks down to size so that I can fit them over and have enough room to solder. So now I'm just going to put everything, tighten everything up to get ready for the soldering. Green and white with purple. I'm just going to twist these two on. Just like so. And then we'll take solid with solids. Okay, so now this joint is ready for soldering. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the next day, and I actually had to go buy some solder. I got the iron over here heating up right now. This solder says that you need to get it to, I think, 430 degrees before it will liquefy. So now to get it pretty hot, But our points of execution here are the checkered or lined line and the solid line. We're going to apply the heat to the bottom and allow the solder to flow through the top so that it hits all of the spaces we want it to hit. And then we could, excuse me, we can send our heat shrink over top of that, and of course really pack it all in, and that is the way you want to do it. So let's get the heat gun ready, or the soldering iron ready, and get started. Got the gun ready, and essentially all we do is place the soldering iron under the wires, copper wires, and just put the solder on top. The starting to melt, the solder starting to melt through. So that's good. We got complete adhesion on both sides. Great. Now we're gonna go over to the other one. All right, so let's do this one. Let's get that soldering iron right up under there. I want to get it hot. And just like that, it's complete. So I'm going to wrap the wires themselves. Now, look at that. Does that not look professional? We'll go down here and clean this part down here up, and we'll be all good to go. Get some tape in there just like that. I'm gonna rotate it around. And there we go. I had a guy that watched one of my videos when I was doing a lot of electrical work for the car tell me that my taping and electrical skills were terrible. Well, I mean, for lack of better words, he was like, yeah, you know, you did a really bad job. So, you know, just to prove to that dude that, you know, I can do factory work, there it is. So, yeah, forget you, man. But thanks for making me better. Can't prove to you that it works yet. You'll have to just wait and see when the car actually gets back into the engine bay. When the engine gets back into the engine bay, there we go. We'll test this then and see if it actually works. So, you know, hold me to it if it doesn't, to fix it. But with that said, that's it for you know, snipping and soldering off and putting on the I guess Ford would call this the successor to the long temperature position sensor. There we go. Oh my gosh. This is the successor to that long one. It's much shorter, and apparently it gives you a more accurate tip. I like it. I mean, because it's newer than the one that I have. So I didn't want to do this originally when I made the P0128 code video. I wanted to stick with the old one because I didn't want to splice. But now, you know, there's nothing holding me back here. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. You know, I can't wait to show you what this is going to be like once it's done. Like, oh, I hope it works. I hope it works, because this is going to be a little fun car to take around town and really, you know, brag about, I guess. And, you know, if this works, future projects can come into fruition if I don't have any problems. So, with that said, focused hands, out. Peace. And just in case if you were wondering if it actually fits, let's test. Hear that click? That's a good sign. Booyah. It's pushed in around the edges. Booyah. Nice work. Look at that. Oh God, this looks like it came from factory. Peace.